Progress Report 9, April 1st. Everybody in the bakery came to see me today where I started my new job working by the dough mixer. It happened like this. Oliver, who works on the mixer, quit yesterday. I used to help him out before bringing the bags of flour over for him to put in the mixer. Anyway, I didn't know that I knew how to work the mixer. It's very hard, and Oliver went to baker school for 1 year before he could learn how to be an assistant baker. But Joe Carp, he's my friend, he said, "Charlie, why don't you take over Oliver's job?" Everybody on the floor came around, and they were all laughing, and Frank Riley said, "Yes, Charlie, you've been here long enough. Go ahead. Gimpy ain't around, and he won't know you tried it." I was scared because Gimpy is the head baker, and he told me never to go near the mixer because I would get hurt. Everyone said do it except Fanny Burden, who said, "Stop it. Why don't you leave the poor man alone?" Frank Riley said, "Shut up, Fanny. It's April Fool's Day, and if Charlie works on the mixer, he might fix it good so we all have the day off." I said I couldn't fix the machine, but I could work it because I've been watching Oliver ever since I got back. I worked the dough mixer, and everybody was surprised, especially Frank Riley. Fanny Burden got excited because she said it took Oliver 2 years to learn how to mix the dough right, and he went to baker school. Bernie Bate, who helps on the machine, said I did it faster than Oliver did and better. Nobody laughed. When Gimpy came back and Fanny told him, he got sore at me for working on the mixer. But she said, "Watch him and see how he does it." They were playing him for an April Fool's joke, and he fooled them instead. Gimpy watched, and I knew he was sore at me because he don't like when people don't do what he tells them, just like Professor Niemer. But he saw how I worked the mixer, and he scratched his head and said, "I see it, but I don't believe it." Then he called Mr. Donner and told me to work it again so Mr. Donner could see it. I was scared he was going to be angry and holler at me, so after I was finished, I said, "Can I go back to my own job now?" I got to sweep out the front of the bakery behind the counter. Mr. Donner looked at me funny for a long time. Then he said, "This must be some kind of April Fool's joke. You guys are playing on me. What's the catch?" Gimpy says, "That's what I thought it was, some kind of gag." He limped all around the machine, and he said to Mr. Donner, "I don't understand it either, but Charlie knows how to handle it, and I got to admit, he does a better job than Oliver." Everybody was crowded around and talked about it, and I got scared because they all looked at me funny, and they were all excited. Frank said, "I told you there is something peculiar lately about Charlie." And Joe Carp says, "Yeah, I know what you mean." Mr. Donner sent everybody back to work, and he took me out to the front of the store with him. He said, "Charlie, I don't know how you done it, but it looks like you finally learned something. I want you to be careful and do the best you can do. You got yourself a new job with a $5 raise." I said I don't want a new job because I like to clean up and sweep and deliver and do things for my friends. But Mr. Donner said, "Never mind your friends. I need you for this job. I don't think much of a man who don't want to advance." I said, "What's advance mean?" He scratched his head and looked at me over his glasses. "Never mind that, Charlie. From now on, you work that mixer. That's advance." So now instead of delivering packages and washing out the toilets and dumping the garbage, I'm the new mixer. That's advance. Tomorrow I will tell Miss Kinnian. I think she will be happy, but I don't know why Frank and Joe are mad at me. I asked Fanny, and she said, "Never mind these fools. This is April Fool's Day, and the joke backfired and made them the fools instead of you." I asked Joe to tell me what the joke that backfired, and he said, "Go jump in the lake." I guess they're mad at me because I worked the machine, but they didn't get the day off like they thought. Does that mean I'm getting smarter? April 3rd. Finished Robinson Crusoe. I want to find out more about what happens to him, but Miss Kinnian says that's all there is. April 4th. Miss Kinnian says I'm learning fast. She read some of my progress reports, and she looked at me kind of funny. She says I'm a fine person and I'll show them all. I asked her why. She said, never mind, but I shouldn't feel bad if I find out that everybody isn't nice like I think. She said, for a person who God gave so little to you, uh, she said, for a person who God gave so little to, you did more than a lot of people with brains they never even used. I said that all my friends are smart people and they're good. They like me and they never did anything that wasn't nice. Then she got something in her eye and she had to run to the ladies' room. While I was sitting in the teaching room waiting for her, I was wondering about how Miss Kinnian was a nice lady like my mother used to be. I think I remember my mother told me to be good and always be friendly to people. She said, but always be careful because some people don't understand and they might think you're trying to make trouble. That makes me remember when mom had to go away and they put me to stay in Mrs. Leroy's house who lived next door. Mom went to the hospital. Dad said she wasn't sick or nothing, but she went to the hospital to bring me back a baby sister or a brother. I still don't know how they do that. I told them I want a baby brother to play with, and I don't know why they got me a sister instead, but she was nice like a doll. Only she cried all the time. I never hurt her or nothing. They put her in a crib in their room, and once I heard Dad say, "Don't worry, Charlie wouldn't harm her." She was like a bundle all pink and screaming sometimes that I couldn't sleep. And when I went to sleep, she woke me up in the nighttime. One time when they were in the kitchen and I was in my bed, she was crying. I got up to pick her up and told her to get quiet the way Mom does. But then Mom came in yelling and took her away, and she slapped me so hard I fell on the bed. Then she started screaming, "Don't you ever touch her again. You'll hurt her. She's a baby. You got no business touching her." I didn't know it then, but I guess I know it now that she thought I was going to hurt the baby because I was too dumb to know what I was doing. Now that makes me feel bad because I would never have hurt the baby. When I go to Dr. Strauss's office, I got to tell him about. April 6th. Today, I learned the comma. This is a comma, a period with a tail. Miss Kinnian says it's important because it makes writing better. She said somebody could lose a lot of money if a comma isn't in the right place. I got some money that I saved from my job and what the foundation pays me, but not much, and I don't see how a comma keeps you from losing it. But she says everybody uses commas, so I'll use them too. April 7th. I used the comma wrong. It's punctuation. Miss Kinnian told me to look up long words in the dictionary to learn to spell them. I said, "What's the difference if you can read it anyway?" She said, "It's part of your education, so from now on I'll look up all the words I'm not sure how to spell. It takes a long time to write that way, but I think I'm remembering more and more." Anyway, that's how come I got the word punctuation right. It's that way in the dictionary. Miss Kinnian says a period is punctuation too, and there are lots of other marks to learn. I told her I thought she meant all the periods had to have tails and be called commas, but she said no. She said, "You got to mix them up." She showed me how to mix them up. And now I can mix up all kinds of punctuation in my writing. There are lots of rules to learn, but I'm getting them in my head. One thing I like about, "Dear Miss Kinnian, that's the way it goes in a business letter. If I ever go into business, is that she always gives me a reason when I ask. She's a genius. I wish I could be smart like her. Punctuation is fun." April 8th. What a dope I am. I didn't even understand what she was talking about. I read the grammar book last night, and it explains the whole thing. Then I saw it was the same way as Miss Kinnian was trying to tell me, but I didn't get it. I got up in the middle of the night, and the whole thing straightened out in my mind. Miss Kinnian said that the TV working just before I fell asleep and during the night helped out. She said I reached a plateau. That's like the flat top of a hill. After I figured out how punctuation worked, I read over all my progress reports from the beginning. Boy, did I have crazy spelling and punctuation. I told Miss Kinnian I ought to go over the pages and fix all the mistakes, but she said, "No, Charlie, Professor Niemer wants them just as they are. That's why he lets you keep them after they're photostated to see your own progress. You're coming along fast, Charlie." That made me feel good. After the lesson, I went down and played with Algernon. We don't race anymore. April 10th. I feel sick. Not like for a doctor, but inside my chest it feels empty, like getting punched and a heartburn at the same time. I wasn't going to write about it, but I guess I got to because it's important. Today was the first day I ever stayed home from work on purpose. Last night, Joe Carp and Frank Riley invited me to a party. There were lots of girls, and Gimpy was there and Ernie too. I remembered how sick I got last time I drank too much, so I told Joe I didn't want to drink anything. He gave me a plain Coke instead. It tasted funny, but I thought it was just a bad taste in my mouth. We had a lot of fun for a while. "Dance with Ellen," Joe said. "She'll teach you the steps." Then he winked at her like he had something in his eye. She said, "Why don't you leave him alone?" He slapped me on the back. "This is Charlie Gordon, my buddy, my pal. He's no ordinary guy. He's been promoted to working on the dough mixing machine. All I did was ask you to dance with him and give him a good time. What's wrong with that?" He pushed me up close against her. So she danced with me. I fell 3 times, and I couldn't understand why because no one else was dancing besides Ellen and me. And all the time I was tripping because somebody's foot was always sticking out. They were all around in a circle watching and laughing at the way we were doing the steps. They laughed harder every time I fell, and I was laughing too because it was so funny. But the last time it happened, I didn't laugh. I picked myself up, and Joe pushed me down again. Then I saw the look on Joe's face, and it gave me a funny feeling in my stomach. "He's a scream," one of the girls said. Everybody was laughing. "Oh, you were right, Frank," choked Ellen. "He's a one-man sideshow." Then she said, "Here, Charlie, have a fruit." She gave me an apple, but when I bit into it, it was fake. Then Frank started laughing, and he said, "I told you he'd eat it." Can you imagine anyone dumb enough to eat wax fruit? Joe said, "I ain't laughed so much since we sent him around the corner to see if it was raining that night we ditched him at Halloran's." Then I saw a picture that I remembered in my mind when I was a kid, and the children in the block let me play with them. Hide and go seek, and I was it. After I counted up to 10 over and over on my fingers, I went to look for the others. I kept looking until it got cold and dark and I had to go home. But I never found them, and I never knew why. What Frank said reminded me. That was the same thing that happened at Halloran's, and that's what Joe and the rest of them were doing, laughing at me. And the kids playing hide and go seek were playing tricks on me, and they were laughing at me too. The people at the party were a bunch of blurred faces, all looking down and laughing at me. "Look at him! His face is red. He's blushing. Charlie's blushing. Hey, Ellen, what'd you do to Charlie? I never saw him act like this before." "Boy, Ellen, you sure got him worked up." I didn't know what to do or where to turn. Her rubbing up against me made me feel funny. Everyone was laughing at me, and all of a sudden I felt naked. I wanted to hide myself so they wouldn't see me. I ran out of the apartment. It was a large apartment house with lots of halls, and I couldn't find my way to the staircase. I forgot all about the elevator. Then, after, I found the stairs and ran out into the street and walked for a long time before I went to my room. I never knew before that Joe and Frank and the others liked to have me around just to make fun of me. Now I know what they mean when they say to pull a Charlie Gordon. I'm ashamed. And another thing, I dreamed about that girl Ellen dancing and rubbing up against me, and when I woke up, the sheets were wet and messy. April 13th. Still didn't go back to work at the bakery. I told Mrs. Flynn, my landlady, to call and tell H.F. Donner I'm sick. Mrs. Flynn looks at me lately like she's scared of me. I think it's a good thing about finding out how everybody laughs at me. I thought about it a lot. It's because I'm so dumb and I don't even know when I'm doing something dumb. People think it's funny when a dumb person can't do things the same way they can. Anyway, now I know I'm getting a little smarter every day. I know punctuation and I can spell good. I like to look up all the words, all the hard words in the dictionary, and I remember them. And I try to write these progress reports very careful, but that's hard to do. I am reading a lot now, and Miss Kinnean says I read very fast. And I even understand a lot of the things I'm reading about, and they stay in my mind. There are times when I can close my eyes and think of a page, and it all comes back like a picture. But other things come into my head too. Sometimes I close my eyes and I see a clear picture. Like this morning, just after I woke up, I was lying in bed with my eyes open. It was like a big hole opened up in the walls of my mind, and I can just walk through. I think it's far back, a long time ago, when I first started working at Donner's Bakery. I see the street where the bakery is. Fuzzy at first, and then it gets patchy with some things so real they are right here now in front of me, and other things stay blurred. I'm not sure. A little old man with a baby carriage made into a push cart with charcoal burner and the smell of roasting chestnuts and snow on the ground. A young fellow, skinny with wide eyes and a scared look on his face, looking up at the store sign. What does it say? Blurred letters in a way that don't make sense. I know now that the sign says Donner's Bakery, but looking back in my memory at the sign, I can't read the words through his eyes. None of the signs make sense. I think that fellow with the scared look on his face is me. Bright neon lights, Christmas trees, and sidewalk peddlers. People bundled in coats with collars up and scarves around their necks. But he has no gloves. His hands are cold, and he puts down a heavy bundle of brown paper bags. He's stopping to watch the little mechanical toys that the peddler winds up, the tumbling bear, the jumping dog, the seal spinning on a ball with a ball on his nose. Tumbling, jumping, spinning. If he had all those toys for himself, he would be the happiest person in the world. He wants to ask the red-faced peddler, with his fingers sticking through the brown cotton gloves, if he can hold the tumbling bear for a minute, but he is afraid. He picks up the bundle of paper bags and puts it on his shoulder. He is skinny, but he is strong from many years of hard work. Charlie, Charlie, fathead barley. Children circle around him, laughing and teasing him like little dogs snapping at his feet. Charlie smiles at them. He would like to put down his bundle and play games with them. But when he thinks about it, the skin on his back twitches and he feels the way the older boys throw things at him. Coming back to the bakery, he sees some boys standing in the door of a dark hallway. Hey, look, there's Charlie. Hey, Charlie, what you got there? Want to shoot some craps? Here, we won't hurt ya. But there's something about the doorway, the dark hall, the laughing, that makes his skin twitch again. He tries to know what it is, but all he can remember is their dirt and piss all over his clothes, and Uncle Herman shouting when he came home all covered with filth, and how Uncle Herman ran out with a hammer in his hand to find the boys who did that to him. Charlie backs away from the boys laughing in the hallway, drops the bundle, picks it up again and runs the rest of the way to the bakery. "What took you so long, Charlie?" shouts Skimpy from the doorway to the back of the bakery. Charlie pushes through the swinging doors to the back of the bakery and sets down the bundle on one of the skids. He leans against the wall, shoving his hands into his pockets. He wishes he had his spinner. He likes it back here in the bakery where the floors are white, with flour whiter than sooty walls and ceiling. The thick soles of his own high shoes are crusted with white, and there is white in the stitching and lace eyes, and under his nails and in the cracked, chapped skin of his hands. He relaxes here, squatting against the wall, leaning back in a way that tilts his baseball cap with the D forward and over his eyes. He likes the smell of flour, sweet dough, bread and cakes and rolls baking. The oven is crackling and makes him sleepy. Sweet, warm sleep. Suddenly, falling, twisting, head hitting against the wall, someone has kicked his legs out from under him. That's all I can remember. I can see it clearly, but I don't know why it happened. It's like when I used to go to the movies. The first time I never understood because they went too fast, but after I saw the picture 3 or 4 times, I used to understand what they were saying. I've got to ask Dr. Strauss about it. April 14th. Dr. Strauss says the important thing is to keep recalling memories like the one I had yesterday and to write them down. Then, when I come into his office, we can talk about them. Dr. Strauss is a psychiatrist and a neurosurgeon. I didn't know that. I thought he was just a plain doctor. But when I went to his office this morning, he told me about how important it is for me to learn about myself so that I can understand my problems. I said I didn't have any problems. He laughed, and then he got up from his chair and went to the window. The more intelligent you become, the more problems you'll have, Charlie. Your intellectual growth is going to outstrip your emotional growth. And I think you'll find that as you progress, there will be many things you'll want to talk about to me about. I just want you to remember that this is the place for you to come when you need help. I still don't know what it's all about, but he said even if I don't understand my dreams or memories or why I have them, sometime in the future, they're all going to connect up and I'll learn more about myself. He said the important thing is to find out what those people in my memories are saying. It's all about me when I was a boy, and I've got to remember what happened. I never knew about these things before. It's like if I get intelligent enough, I'll understand all the words in my mind, and I'll know about those boys standing in the hallway, and about my Uncle Herman and my parents. But what he means is then I'm going to feel bad about it all, and I might get sick in my mind. So I've got to come into his office twice a week now to talk about the things that bother me. We just sit there and I talk, and Dr. Strauss listens. It's called therapy, and that means talking about things will make me feel better. I told him one of the things that bothers me is about women. Like dancing with that girl Ellen got me all excited. So we talked about it, and I got a funny feeling while I was talking, cold and sweaty, and a buzzing inside my head, and I thought I was going to throw up. Maybe because I always thought it was dirty and bad to talk about that. But Dr. Strauss said that what happened to me after the party was a wet dream, and it's a natural thing that happens to boys. So even if I'm getting intelligent and learning a lot of new things, he thinks I'm still a boy about women. It's confusing, but I'm going to find out all about my life. April 15th. I'm reading a lot these days, and almost everything is staying in my mind. Besides history and geography and arithmetic, Miss Kinnian says I should start learning foreign languages. Professor Niemer gave me some more tapes to play while I sleep. I still don't know how the conscious and unconscious mind works, but Dr. Strauss says not to worry yet. He made me promise that when I start learning college subjects in a couple of weeks, I won't read any books on psychology. That is, until he gives me permission. He says it will confuse me and make me think about psychological theories instead of about my own ideas and feelings. But it's okay to read novels. This week I read The Great Gatsby, An American Tragedy, and Look Homeward, Angel. I never knew about men and women doing things like that. April 16th. I feel a lot better today, but I'm still angry that all the time people were laughing and making fun of me. When I become intelligent the way Professor Niemer says, with much more than twice my IQ of 70, then maybe people will like me and be my friends. I'm not sure what IQ is anyway. Professor Niemer said it was something that measured how intelligent you were, like a scale in the drugstore weighs pounds. But Dr. Strauss had a big argument with him and said an IQ didn't weigh intelligence at all. He said an IQ showed how much intelligence you could get, like the numbers on the outside of a measuring cup. You still had to fill the cup up with stuff. When I asked Birch Selden, who gives me my intelligence tests and works with Algernon, he said that some people would say both of them were wrong, and according to the things he's been reading up on, the IQ measures a lot of different things, including some of the things you learned already, and it really isn't a good measure of intelligence at all. I still don't know what an IQ is, and everybody says it's something different. Mine is about 100 now, and it's going to be over 150 soon. But they'll still have to fill me up with with stuff. I didn't want to say anything, but I don't see how, if they don't know what it is or where it is, how they know how much of it you've got. Professor Niemer says I have to take a Rorschach test the day after tomorrow. I wonder what that is. April 17th. I had a nightmare last night, and this morning, after I woke up, I free associated the way Dr. Strauss told me to do when I remember my dreams. Think about the dream and just let my mind wander until other thoughts come up in my mind. I keep on doing that until my mind goes blank. Dr. Strauss says that it means I've reached a point where my subconscious is trying to block my conscious from remembering. It's a wall between the present and the past. Sometimes the wall stays up, and sometimes it breaks down, and I can remember what's behind it. Like this morning. The dream was about Miss Kinnian reading my progress reports. In the dream, I sit down to write, but I can't write or read anymore. It's all gone. I get frightened, so I ask Gimpy at the bakery to write for me. But when Miss Kinnian reads the report, she gets angry and tears the pages up because they've got dirty words in them. When I get home, Professor Niemer and Dr. Strauss are waiting for me, and they give me a beating for writing dirty things in the progress report. When they leave me, I pick up the torn pages, but they turn into lace valentines with blood all over them. It was a horrible dream, but I got out of bed and wrote it all down, and then I started to free associate. Bakery, baking, the urn, someone kicking me, a fall down, bloody all over, writing, big pencil on a red valentine, a little gold heart, a locket, a chain, all covered with blood, and he's laughing at me. The chain is from a locket, spinning around, flashing the sunlight into my eyes. And I like to watch it spin, watch the chain, all bunched up and twisting and spinning, and a little girl is watching me. Her name is Harriet. Harriet, Harriet, we all love Harriet. And then there's nothing. It's blank again. Miss Kinnian reading my progress reports over my shoulder. Then we're at the Adult Center for Retarded, and she's reading over my shoulder as I write my ossitions compositions. School changes into PS 13, and I'm 11 years old, and Miss Kinnian is 11 years old too, but now she's not Miss Kinnian. She's a little girl with dimples and long curls, and her name is Harriet. We all love Harriet. It's Valentine's Day. I remember what happened at PS 13 and why they had to change my school and send me to PS 222. It was because of Harriet. I see Charlie, 11 years old. He has a little gold-colored locket he once found in the street. There's no chain, but he has it on a string, and he likes to twirl the locket so that it bunches up the string, and then watch it unwind, spinning around the sun, flicking into his eyes. Sometimes when the kids play catch, they let him play in the middle, and he tries to get the ball before one of them catches it. He likes to be in the middle, even if he never catches the ball. And once when Jaime Roth dropped the ball by mistake and he picked it up, they wouldn't let him throw it, but he had to go in the middle again. When Harriet passes by, the boys stop playing and look at her. All the boys love Harriet. When she shakes her head, her curls bounce up and down, and she has dimples. Charlie doesn't know why they make such a fuss about a girl and why they always want to talk to her. He'd rather play ball or kick the can or Ringo Levio than talk to a girl. But all the boys are in love with Harriet, so he's in love with her too. She never teases him like the other kids, and he does tricks for her. He walks on the desks when the teacher isn't there. He throws erasers out the window, scribbles all over the blackboard and walls, and Harriet always screeches and giggles. "Oh, look at Charlie. Ain't he funny? Oh, ain't he silly?" It's Valentine's Day, and the boys are talking about Valentines they're going to give Harriet. So Charlie says, "I'm going to give Harriet a Valentine too." They laugh, and Barry says, "Where are you going to get a Valentine?" "I'm going to get her a pretty one. You'll see." But he doesn't have any money for a Valentine, so he decides to give Harriet his locket that is heart-shaped like a Valentine's in the store windows. That night, he takes tissue paper from his mother's drawer, and it takes a long time to wrap it and tie it with a piece of red ribbon. Then he takes it to Jaime Roth the next day during lunch period in school and asks Jaime to write on the paper for him. He tells Jaime to write, "Dear Harriet, I think you are the most prettiest girl in the world. I like you very much and I love you. I want you to be my Valentine. Your friend, Charlie Gordon." Jaime prints very carefully in large letters on the paper, laughing all the time, and he tells Charlie, "Boy, this will knock her eyes out. Wait till she sees this." Charlie is scared, but he wants to give Harriet that locket, so he follows her home from school and waits until she goes into her house. Then he sneaks into the hall and hangs the package on the inside of the doorknob. He rings the bell twice and runs across the street to hide behind the tree. When Harriet comes down, she looks around to see who rang the bell. Then she sees the package. She takes it and goes upstairs. Charlie goes home from school, and he gets a spanking because he took the tissue paper and ribbon out of his mother's drawer without telling her. But he doesn't care. Tomorrow, Harriet will wear the locket and tell all the boys he gave it to her. Then they'll see. The next day, he runs all the way to school, but it's too early. Harriet isn't there yet, and he's excited. But when Harriet comes in, she doesn't even look at him. She isn't wearing the locket, and she looks sore. He does all kinds of things when Mrs. Jansen isn't watching. He makes the funny faces. He laughs out loud. He stands up on his seat and wiggles his fanny. He even throws a piece of chalk at Harold. But Harriet doesn't look at him even once. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she'll wear it tomorrow. She passes by him in the hallway, but when he comes over to ask her, she pushes past him without saying a word. Down in the schoolyard, her two big brothers are waiting for him. Gus pushes him. "You little bastard, did you write this dirty note to my sister?" Charlie says he didn't write any dirty notes. "I just gave her a Valentine." Oscar, who was on the football team before he graduated from high school, grabs Charlie's shirt and tears off 2 buttons. "You keep away from my kid sister, you degenerate. You don't belong in this school anyway." He pushes Charlie over to Gus, who catches him by the throat. Charlie is scared and starts to cry. Then they start to hurt him. Oscar punches him in the nose, and Gus knocks him on the ground and kicks him in the side, and they both of them kick him, one and then the other, and some of the other kids in the yard, Charlie's friends, come running, screaming, and clapping. "Fight! Fight! They're beating up Charlie!" His clothes are torn, and his nose is bleeding, and one of his teeth is broken, and after Gus and Oscar go away, he sits on the sidewalk and cries. The blood tastes sour. The other kids just laugh and shout, "Charlie got a licking! Charlie got a licking!" And then Mr. Wagner, one of the caretakers from the school, comes and chases them away. He takes Charlie into the boys' room and tells him to wash off the blood and dirt from his face and hands before he goes back home. I guess I was pretty dumb because I believed that what people told me. I shouldn't have trusted Jaime or anyone. I never remembered any of this before today, but it came back to me after I thought about the dream. It has something to do with the feelings about Miss Kinnian reading my progress reports. Anyway, I'm glad now I don't have to ask anyone to write things for me. Now I can do it for myself. But I just realized something. Harriet never gave me back my locket. April 18th. I found out what a Rorschach test is. It's the test with the ink blots, the one I took before the operation. As soon as I saw what it was, I got frightened. I knew Bert was going to ask me to find the pictures, and I knew I wouldn't be able to. I was thinking if only there was some way of knowing what kind of pictures were hidden there. Maybe there weren't any pictures at all. Maybe it was just a trick to see if I was dumb enough to look for something that wasn't there. Just thinking about it made me sore at him. "All right, Charlie," he said. "You've seen these cards before, remember?" Of course I remember. The way I said it, he knew I was angry, and he looked at me, surprised. "Anything wrong, Charlie?" "No, nothing's wrong. Those ink blots upset me." He smiled and shook his head. "Nothing to be upset about. This is just one of the standard personality tests. Now I want you to look at this card. What might this be? What do you see on this card? People see all sorts of things on these ink blots. Tell me what it might be for you. What it makes you think of." I was shocked. I stared at the card and then at him. That wasn't what I had expected him to say at all. "You mean there's no pictures hidden in those ink blots?" Bert frowned and took off his glasses. "What?" "Pictures hidden in the ink blots. Last time you told me everyone could see them, and you wanted me to find them too." "No, Charlie, I couldn't have said that." "What do you mean?" I shouted at him. Being so afraid of the ink blots had made me angry at myself and at Bert too. "That's what you said to me. Just because you're smart enough to go to college doesn't mean you have to make fun of me. I'm sick and tired of everybody laughing at me." I don't recall ever being so angry before. I don't think it was at Bert himself, but suddenly everything exploded. I tossed the Rorschach cards on the table and walked out. Professor Niemer was passing by in the hall, and when I rushed past him without saying hello, he knew something was wrong. He said he and Bert caught up with me as I was about to go down in the elevator. "Charlie," said Niemer, grabbing my arm. "Wait a minute. What's this all about?" I shook free and nodded at Bert. "I'm sick and tired of people making fun of me. That's all. Maybe before I didn't know any better, but now I do, and I don't like it." "Nobody's making fun of you here, Charlie," said Niemer. "What about the ink blots? Last time Bert told me there were pictures in the ink that everyone could see, and I... Look, Charlie, would you like to hear the exact words Bert said to you, and your answers as well? We have a tape recording of that testing session. We can replay it and let you hear exactly what was said." I went back with them to the psych office with mixed feelings. I was sure I was sure they had made fun of me and tricked me when I was too ignorant to know better. My anger was an exciting feeling, and I didn't give it up easily. I was ready to fight. As Niemer went to the files to get the tape, Bert explained, "Last time I used almost the exact words I used today. It's a requirement of these tests that the procedure be the same each time it's administered." I'll believe that when I hear it. A look passed between them. I felt the blood rush to my face again. They were laughing at me. But then I realized what I had just said, and hearing myself, I understood the reason for the look. They weren't laughing. They knew what was happening to me. I had reached a new level, and anger and suspicion were my first reactions to the world around me. Bert's voice boomed over the tape recorder. Now I want you to look at this card, Charlie. What might this be? What do you see on this card? People see all kinds of things in these ink blots. Tell me what it makes you think of. The same words, almost the same tone of voice he had used minutes ago in the lab. And then I heard my answers, childish, impossible things, and I dropped limply into the chair beside Professor Niemer's desk. Was that really me? I went back to the lab with Bert, and we went on with the Rorschach. We went through the cards slowly. This time, my responses were different. I saw things in the inkblot. A pair of bats tugging at each other. Two men fencing with swords. I imagined all sorts of things. But even so, I found myself not trusting Bert completely anymore. I kept turning the cards around, checking the backs to see if there was anything there I was supposed to catch. I peeked while he was making his notes, but it was all in code that looked like this. WF plus ADDF dash AD orage WF dash ASF plus obj. The test still doesn't make sense. It seems to me that anyone could make up lies about things he didn't really see. How could they know I wasn't making fools of them by saying things I didn't really imagine? Maybe I'll understand it when Dr. Strauss lets me read up on psychology. It's getting harder for me to write down all my thoughts and feelings because I know that people are reading them. Maybe it would be better if I could keep some of these reports private for a while. I'm going to ask Dr. Strauss, why should it suddenly start to bother me?